We now move to the next session under our segment Preparing for the Next Pandemic Cyber Attack Health Climate Crisis. A session on the topic Getting Stronger for the Next Health Crisis. Our speaker for this session is Dr. Peter Schad, Chief Technology Officer, Siemens Healthineers. The Doctor of Physics joined Siemens in 1995 as a project manager for X-ray tubes. There he developed high-performance tubes for computed tomography before taking over the management of the entire pre-development for X-ray tubes in 2002. And chairing the session is Partha Marella, Executive Vice President, Engineering and R&D Services, Medical Devices and Manufacturing Sectors, HCL Technologies. With over 20 years of global experience in the IT industry, Partha has an impeccable record of profitable revenue growth, organizational leadership, strategic thinking, immaculate execution, and managing and growing large relationships across a multitude of industries. Pleasure to have both of you here with us. Over to you, Partha.
Thank you, Justin, for the introductions. Good morning, good evening to everyone. COVID-19 has been a game-changing disruptor for the healthcare industry. It has changed the way healthcare will be delivered now and in the future. The industry has witnessed some deep weaknesses that came to the fore, and it has also brought digital delivery care pathways light years ahead. We have learned some lessons, all of us, in this pandemic, right from understanding how important is personal hygiene to understanding leadership and effective mass communication is so very critical in managing pandemic. We figured out a way to work from home and also motivate our employees, while some of us are still trying to figure out a way to manage work-life balance. Having said that, there are some macro level issues that we need to solve if we are to become more resilient for the next outbreak. Some of those are access to healthcare. Health data can be exponentially more powerful if it can be combined and shared. And digital delivery pathways, along with cross-industry collaboration, is very critical. Today, Peter and I are going to discuss and dwell on some of these to figure out how we can improve on these to become more resilient in the future. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Partha. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Peter. So, Peter, as we start, let's understand what are some of the things that we should look at to improve access to healthcare. We have seen that this has been the single most issue that was faced in both developed and developing nations. How can we improve on access to healthcare?
Well, Partha, first of all, let me say that in particular, this pandemic has shown to all of us globally that we all have to engage in improving healthcare, right? So this is a very critical task for pretty much everybody of us, yeah. Similar to a similar exposure like the climate change is presenting a global challenge to all of us, right? And that leads me to my first claim here to say this cannot be done by individual countries, companies, or whoever, right? This requires an international collaboration across the globe, yeah, from academia, healthcare providers, industry, startups. All of us really have to work closely together in terms of getting solutions for improving the situation for many people who are really lacking exactly that access to the appropriate level of healthcare which we are talking about, right? But what do we have to do besides working together even more closely? I think speed is at the essence of everything we should really do now, right? And this pandemic has shown why this is so important, because nobody knew before what that disease is, what the origin is, how to treat it, how to diagnose it, and whatever, right? So it's about a very fast learning in order then to come up with actual solutions. Yeah, and for example, we at Siemens Healthineers, we learned together with radiologists what are the symptoms which we could identify in X-ray images, in CT images, right, and deploy actually algorithms based on artificial intelligence to help us understand even faster what it really means, what is the quantification, what is the progression, and even start to develop first strategies how to deal with it.
It took some time for all of us to learn the nature of this disease and the unknown pathogen. But it is also heartwarming, Peter, that we have seen companies come together. There was a public-private partnership that, like you rightly said, a lot of people came together to address this pandemic. We have seen academia, private institutions. We've also seen companies which were in the automotive industry to come out and manufacture PPE equipment and ventilators to help. I know one of the things that companies like HCL did was to actually allow their campuses to be used as quarantine centers or create hospital beds so that people could be, we could provide some more access to the healthcare. But Peter, one thing that comes to my mind is how can we make this more systemic? How can we make it sustainable so that the healthcare access is expanded? We have seen that even in developing countries, we have had challenges where the number of doctors and nurses that were available was always a challenge. And one of the things that I've seen in the US is they called upon some of those clinicians who have retired at the time of crises, and they brought them on board to kind of help the situation. Do you think some of these measures are important for us to keep in mind on how to make the access to healthcare more sustainable?
Yeah, I can only fully agree to you, right? And there are many small things which we can do. Yeah? For example, when I come back to the speed, right? We delivered, for example, mobile containers with equipment in order to deal very close to the hot sites, with the situation, and many others did that as well. But when it comes to becoming more resilient and even be more better prepared, I see a huge potential in even building more on connectivity by digital means. Yeah, so exploring technologies like connectivity, but also availability of data, putting data analytics and AI-based learning on top of it, right? That will do a couple of things. First of all, it will connect the knowledge and it will enable to make decisions based on data which are actually decentralized, available, but we will make them accessible to draw the right conclusions, the right decisions. But if you go one step further, it will also then help to deliver, for example, also therapies or even perform interventions, remotely. So when it comes to then dealing with an actual situation, I believe in the future digital technologies will help that the patient does not need to come to the hospital or a central hospital anymore, but that we will reverse exactly that. And that is all about two topics. First, technology, as I said, but second, it's also about affordability, right? So I think it's important that when we want to provide a global population real access to healthcare, the solutions must become way more affordable, right? And digital technologies will also help with that. I can give you even one more example. With a recent innovation we released to the market, where the reconstruction of the images in an MRI is already supported by AI image processing. So that allows us to reduce the specifications of the hardware significantly so that it becomes more broadly affordable and available, right? So with that solution, we will get into areas where MRI was prohibitive simply because of cost or installation demand and so on. But hey, the enabler again is a digital data machine learning, which we now embed in pretty much all of our products.
Absolutely. I think that brings me to a very interesting topic, Peter. And I think digital is one way that we can improve the access. I guess that's what you're hinting at. And it's very important because in this age where we have figured out that, you know, physical barriers are not going to stop us from conducting business. So similarly, physical proximity is not necessary to provide healthcare. Telemedicine, telehealth concepts have been there for time immemorial. And now it is the time for us to kind of take them and exponentially drive that. One of the things that I know happened recently was there was a hackathon that was conducted in India, where academia, multiple institutes, and some companies got together to come up with ideas how to involve digital care pathways in not just identification, but also treatment pathways for COVID. One of the things that HCL did was to come up with AI-based imaging algorithm that can look at an X-ray to figure out whether the patient has a particular pathogen or not. These kind of examples are how we can improve access to care and also provide better and effective healthcare. Peter, one of the things that I've also seen is diagnostics plays such an important role, right? Right from the moment a pathogen is identified to the eventual resolution of a pandemic, diagnostics always plays a very important role. How do you see the role of diagnostic companies evolve in addressing and helping us to be more resilient in the future?
That is actually a great topic to dive into, Partha, right? Because I think here also many companies have proven that by investing into basic technologies and really being able to fully understand what the technology can do, with that knowledge, many companies have been able to deploy very specific solutions very quickly. For example, when you talk about diagnostics, say how fast the tests have been developed in record time, simply because of the deep understanding and knowledge which was there about the proteins which are involved in the development of the disease and so on and so forth, right? So which exact spike protein to attach to, right? How the antigens will behave, all of this. So we have seen the first tests come out only a few weeks after the virus has been known, right? And even beyond this, what I also found very impressive when it then came to the vaccines and the developments, this new technology, the mRNA technology, which has been actually pursued for individualized cancer therapy, right? Companies were able to really take that technology and adopt it to the very specific situation of the COVID-19 and come up with a vaccine also in record time. So I believe there is always a strong need to invest in fundamental technologies, and then have, of course, the agility to turn this quickly into action solutions, to provide relief.
And I think, Peter, investments in R&D and trying to build that ecosystem so that we are ready in terms of digital, in terms of those diagnostic reagents, and those kind of care pathways are going to be very, very critical for us as we move forward. Coming to the, looking at a more philosophical and macro level, Peter, do you think we should, as a society, look beyond just treating the sick and moving towards well-being? What are your views on that?
Oh, this is very close to my heart, right? Yeah, obviously we talk about healthcare, right, and not about
Yes.
sick care, right?
Sick care,
So
yes.
this is really what we are after. Yeah? And again, if I bank on my theme of understanding what is going on when it comes to specific disease states, and we can deepen our knowledge about this also by digital modeling and simulating and really understanding the principles behind this, then it in turn pretty much for free will enable us to understand what will it take in prevention to keep individuals healthy, right? So in that context, we are really working on the concept of digital twins, which of course the digital twin of a human being, this is a science fiction kind of a vision, right? But if you take it a little bit more precise and concrete, you can already simulate models of an organ when it comes to a specific disease state, for example, for cardiac prepositions, but even cancer in the liver. There is a lot of things you can already do in order to create a digital model and simulate the progression of a disease, but you can also simulate the impact of an intervention, of a treatment. And similar to that, you are not only able to, let's say, simulate forward-looking, you can also simulate backward-looking and say, what would it have taken to prevent the disease of developing into that state, right? So pretty much it is, let's say, playing in a virtual reality, and understanding, both sides, right? How to treat a particular situation, but also how to prevent it, well, not in that individual situation, but for many others, based on what you have learned to develop it.
Peter, that was just amazing. I've heard this for the first time, a digital twin for a human being to address, and this is a very unique concept, and perhaps it's not so much a science fiction. It is perhaps moving towards a reality where we will look at how can we treat people for well-being and not for sickness. Peter, it was an amazing conversation. I really appreciate your time in terms of giving some views and some of the things that you said in terms of collaboration, deep industry collaboration. Speed is of essence. That's very, very critical when there is an outbreak, because we are ignorant. We don't know these unknown, we don't know much about these pathogens. I think I will end this session or conclude this session by calling out what Nassim Taleb wrote in his book, Anti-Fragile. He coins a phrase, anti-fragile, and he says that fragile is obviously, as we know, is something that is can be broken. Anti-fragile is just the opposite of it. Resilience is where companies can withstand shocks, whereas anti-fragile is when we come out of it becoming better. So let us hope that this conversation and similar such conversations world over help humanity at large to become anti-fragile in handling the next pandemic. Thank you, Peter, and over to you, Justin.
Thank you, Partha and Dr. Peter, for that very informative and insightful conversation.